Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to today's conference call. At this time, your lines have been placed on listen only for conference until the question and answer portion of our call, at which time you will be prompted to press star 1 on your touch-tone phone. Please ensure that your line is unmuted and please record your name when prompted so that I may introduce you to ask your question. Our conference is being recorded, and if you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I will now turn conference over to our host, Ms. Linda Lee. Ma'am, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Lee, and I would like to welcome everyone to the Exploring Census Data webinar series. Our series has been going strong, with this being the 4th year in which we present monthly webinars based on popular topics. Today's webinar on the manufacturing sector is our last webinar in the series for this year. Now, a little background about our series. Our presentations are presented by subject matter experts, and they include use case scenarios so that you can see real-world applications of the data throughout the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we include a Q&A session, and in our virtual room with me today are our analysts from the different programs that we are featuring today. So you'll be able to ask questions and get answers directly from our subject matter experts. Now, as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question over the telephone, you must use the dial-in information. For anyone who has opted to use the computer audio, the chat feature is available as well. Another feature of our webinar series is that if you happen to miss a session or you would like to view it again, we post a copy of the slides, the recordings, and transcript typically between 5 to 10 business days after the airing of the event. To learn more about our webinar, you can use this link, which will take you to our Census Academy page to view our past recordings. And recorded materials from our earlier years are also available here as well. Now, please note that we are utilizing technology off-site, and we aim to provide you with the best experience possible. Should we experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the chat feature to let us know of issues, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. Today's webinar, we will start off with about the Census Bureau. Then we will dive into the various programs associated with the manufacturing sector. We will be taking a look at the different types of data that are available related to manufacturing, as well as touching on current topics in the manufacturing sector and also the relationship to other areas of the economy as well. The programs that we will be featuring today are the Annual Survey of Manufacturers, the Manufacturer's Unfilled Order, the Quarterly Financial Report, the Ecommerce Statistics, the International Trade Statistics, and the Economic Census. Now, as a part of our series, we have a feature where we spotlight a survey as an added bonus for you. One of our goals is to make our data users aware of our programs, to pique your interest so that you'll be curious to explore more on your own. And in this webinar, we will be going into the quarterly survey of plant capacity utilization. But towards the end of the webinar, I will be showing you how to access the data using data.census.gov. This is our primary data dissemination platform. I'll also be showing you how to access the data via other methods as well. Now, I know I just threw a whole bunch of data sources at you on the previous slide. And if you're new to the Census Bureau data, it's just a list, and it could feel like a lot to digest. This slide shows you the types of data that we'll be looking at for the manufacturing sector from the programs that were mentioned on the earlier slide. And today we'll be using the automobile manufacturing industry as a reference. We'll be taking a journey through the different types of manufacturing data and touching on ways that you can use the data for your business needs. So let's get started. The Census Bureau is the federal government's largest of the 17 statistical agencies, where we conduct over 130 surveys each year, with some of our more well-known surveys listed here. Now, many people recognize the decennial census. This is a well-known survey that takes place every 10 years. It counts population and housing. Next on the list is the American Community Survey. This is a yearly survey on the nation's population. Now, from the business data side of the house, we have the Economic Census. The Economic Census takes place every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7, and it measures American businesses. Now, for the public sector's counterpart of the Economic Census, we have the Census of Governments. This is the official 5-year measure of the nation's state and local government sector. So with over 130 surveys, I highly encourage you to check out our site and discover all the possibilities. This slide is a great representation of how our programs are structured when it comes to data releases and details. And a pyramid is a good way to think about this. Starting at the bottom of the pyramid is our most comprehensive program, the Economic Census. It takes place every 5 years, and it is the base of the pyramid because it is our most comprehensive data source for business data. Now, as you move up the pyramid to the annual programs, the data are released on a yearly basis. So these programs are more timely than the Economic Census. However, the level of details is reduced. And at the very top of the pyramid is where the data are released on a monthly and quarterly basis. So you'll be able to get access to timely data at a higher level of details. So in essence, there is an inverse relationship between the frequency of release and the level of details. Before we dive into the programs and data, let's see what's included in the manufacturing sector. Now, if you're new to our data, you'll want to familiarize yourself with the North American Industry Classification System. Now, we often call this system by its acronym. So when you hear NAICS, it's in reference to this classification system. And to learn more about the NAICS system, we have many tutorial webinars on our site. And I've also included reference materials for you at the end. So what's included in the manufacturing sector are NAICS codes ranging from 31 through 33. And here is an example of code 336, where we see data for transportation equipment manufacturing. Now, going down to the 4-digit level, we see that transportation equipment manufacturing is further classified to motor vehicle manufacturing and motor vehicle body and trailer manufacturing. Now, as you can see, the lower the NAICS level, the more details you'll be able to find. So where in this example, code 3361 can be detailed to whether an establishment is manufacturing automobiles or light truck and utility vehicles. So when looking at manufacturing, one of the best sources is a survey specifically tailored for establishments that manufacture. And this is where the Annual Survey of Manufacturers, also commonly referred to as the ASM, comes into play. The ASM provides sample estimates of statistics for all manufacturing establishments with one or more paid employees, and this also includes leased employees classified under NAICS Sector 31 through 33. Now, it is conducted annually with the exception of the years ending in 2 and 7. So at which time you'll be able to find ASM statistics in the manufacturing sector of the Economic Census. And during the Economic Census years, you will be able to obtain more detailed statistics for the ASM. The most recent data that we have is for the 2019 survey year. Now, statistics from this program include employment, payroll, supplemental labor costs, and operating expenses, and a whole lot more. To include energy consumption and inventory. It is a program, if you want to think about it as the manufacturing industry's it measures the outputs and inputs for manufacturing industries. The ASM data is available for you at the 2 through 6 digit level NAICS code at the national level. Now, at the state and state equivalent level, you'll be able to get this data at the 2 through 4 digit NAICS level. So you can access the data using this link, and the link will take you to the program's main page. You can also access it using data.census.gov. Now, on the right side of the slide, I've included additional resources. And this link will take you to our technical documents where you can gain access to methodology. So you'll be able to see the actual questions that we ask our respondents, among other things. So tracking along with our automobile example, this table shows the number of people who worked in the motor vehicle manufacturing industry for selected states in 2019. And of course, a large number of employment in Michigan is expected. This slide shows data from the ASM on production workers. So here we see the number of production workers and their annual hours slightly declined from 2018 to 2019. Now, many factors could contribute to this dip. For instance, robotics in manufacturing could be one factor. Then, if you're looking for robotics data, the ASM has data on robotics and how it affects productivity and labor for manufacturing establishments. This data was released in 2018 as part of an experimental data product. And if you're interested in learning more about this aspect of the ASM, please visit the program's main page. We also have a webinar archived under the Census Academy on this topic. You'll want to search under a recording called Innovation at Census, Experimental Data Product. And also other employment data related to the ASM includes total fringe benefits, employers' cost to health insurance, and defined pensions plans as well. Now, while we know that insourcing and outsourcing is not unique to the manufacturing sector, we can see that here from 2018 to 2019, expenses for temporary staff and leased employees in the auto industry show an increase. And this type of information can be helpful, especially if you happen to own a business where you provide contractors or temporary staff to manufacturing establishments. This is a resource sheet for additional information on automation data. The first link takes you to the ASM's main page. The second link is to the annual capital expenditure survey. This program has data on robotic equipment expenditures. The third link is a webinar that we recorded earlier that was mentioned on the earlier slide, the Innovation at Census. This includes robotics data from the ASM, and it also dives into the annual capital expenditure survey as well. And the next link is an article by one of my colleagues, Ms. Erlene Dowell, on manufacturing facing a labor shortage as the workforce ages. The article details that attracting and retaining employees are top challenges facing the manufacturing industry. It also goes into the Job-to-Job Flow Explorer data tool, and it goes into how using this data tool you can discover the workers who leave the manufacturing sector and the types of jobs that they go into afterwards. Now, of course, this tool works for other sectors as well, not just manufacturing. Another resource available to help you in looking for statistics related to technology is a page on our site called TechStats. The TechStats is a central location where you can obtain data on information related to technology and the economy. So before we move along to our next program, I have a fun fact. Did you know that manufacturing holds the title for the largest share of automation? Our next program is the manufacturer's shipment, inventory, and orders, also commonly referred to us by the acronym M3. The M3 releases data on a monthly basis. Now, going back to that pyramid that we looked at earlier as a monthly program, the level of statistics is only available at the national level. Now, while this is true, you'll be able to get data for select manufacturing industry at the 6-digit level, which will allow you to get industry-specific levels. The M3 measures shipments, inventories, new orders, and unfilled orders from manufacturing companies. Now, this type of information helps in the analysis of business cycle conditions. So, for instance, new manufacturing order helps gauge commitments of future domestic productions. You can access this data using the link provided here. I've also included a link to the time series and trends chart. This is a tool that is available for many of our economic indicator programs. And the tool allows you to specify data variables that you are interested in, and it creates a nice graph and a data table at just the click of a button. Now, along the right side of the slide, these are upcoming release dates, and it looks like the next release is in a few days. Of course, if you have questions about the M3 data, you can contact our analyst directly using this telephone number. And this is an American account story written by Ariana Stoiga, who is the chief for the M3 program. It's a great story that talks about how the data can reveal consumer confidence in the economy. And I placed a link here for your convenience that will take you directly to the story. So let's take a look at M3 data in action. Here we're looking at the percentage change in total inventories for the automobile manufacturing sector. You'll notice that in the red box, many months in 2020, the percentage change were negative. And in 2021, we have many months with positive percentage change in total inventory. And this graph is of the automobile manufacturing in terms of the value of shipments. Here you can see the rise and fall for this sector over the past 10 years. You'll also notice a huge plummet in the automobile manufacturing during the pandemic, and that's circled in red. And here's an illustration of the monthly percentage change of new orders for motor vehicle and parts. The data shows a huge decline in fluctuation of new orders due to the pandemic. So let's move along to our next program, where we'll be taking a look at financial statistics from the quarterly financial report, also known as the QFR. So the quarterly financial report, just as the name suggests, is released quarterly at the national level. It is a program with over 70 years of quarterly statistics, so it is a great source for anyone looking to do a historical analysis. Data from this program serves as a primary source of the estimate of corporate profits for the domestic income account, but it also has other uses, such as designing economic policies, drafting legislation, making investment evaluations, and even studying economic trends. The data is available at the 3- and 4-digit NAICS level. Now, the report provides financial information such as sales, profits, assets, liabilities, and other financial variables for the manufacturing sector. But the data is also available for the mining, wholesale, retail, information, and professional services as well. And if you'd like to see a full list of all the data dimensions, I've included that in the reference section as well. Now, to access the data, it is available from the program's main page, and for easy access, you can use this link here. The data is also available using the time series and trends chart. However, it's not currently available on our primary data dissemination platform, data.census.gov, but it is available in another way. On the right side of the slide, you can get this data on the go. So data is available on a mobile app called Spread, and Spread was developed by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and this app has 13 of our economic indicators on it. In the last link at the bottom, we have a dashboard for the economic indicators, and I'm going to illustrate the dashboard for you on the next slide. So using the last link from the previous slide, you'll land on this page. The link is also included again for you at the bottom there, highlighted in yellow. This is the economic indicators dashboard. And the page provides you with an at-a-glance statistics as well as other features. Here we have various indicator programs presented to you on individual slides, or tiles, I should say. First, you'll want to select an indicator program, and in this example, in the red box, I selected quarterly profits. So in the bottom right of each tile, when you hit the I want to button, you have several options of things that you can do. And specifically for manufacturing, let's say you want to quickly see quarterly profits and the change from quarter to quarter. The graph on the right is available by selecting the View Survey Chart. And here we see a rise in the after-tax profits for manufacturing corporations from the first to the second quarter of this year. So here's an illustration of the time series and trends chart. You can get to this page by using the link highlighted in yellow there, or simply do a search for the time series and trends chart on census.gov. Now, once you're on the main page, you'll have the option to select from a list of indicator surveys. Now, you could be thinking at this moment, well, this looks very similar to that dashboard that we've just seen on the previous slide. Well, it is similar in a way where you can get the same data. However, with the time series and trends chart, you can customize the variables. So, for instance, in this example, I selected the quarterly financial report. So once you select a program, you'll see this page where you'll have the option to customize your data. In this example, I selected a date range for quarters starting in 2019 and ending in 2021 for motor vehicles and parts. And then I selected the net sales, receipt, and operating revenues. Now with indicator data, you can select seasonally or not seasonally adjusted data. And in this orange box, you have the option to download all the data or save this search as well. And once you're done with selecting everything, you hit the Get Data button. And you'll see this table format first. So from here, boxed in red are other options. And in this example, I selected the line chart, which is illustrated down here. This is the result of the search criteria that we selected on the previous slide. And we see the data for motor vehicle and parts by quarters from 2019 to 2021. And you can see the drop from quarter 1 of 2020 to quarter 2 of 2020, and then a subsequent increase in the third quarter. Now, this slide shows quarterly data for stockholders' equity from 2017 to 2021 for motor vehicles and parts sector in the U.S. Now, parallel to the net sales data from the previous slide, we see a dip occurred around the second quarter of last year. And the examples that I've shown you today are only a fraction of all the data that are available from the QFR. If you're interested in seeing the full list of variables, check out the reference section at the end. So the next program we are featuring today is the Ecommerce Statistics, also commonly referred to as the eStats. The statistics from the eStats provide data on electronic commerce activity in key sectors of the U.S. economy. And here, the eStats report is available at the national level annually. The report goes back all the way to 1998. Data is available as a 2 through 5 digit NAICS code. And the report provides e-commerce statistics on the value of shipments, sales, and revenues for 4 sectors of the economy. The data comes from 4 separate surveys: the annual retail trade survey, the annual survey of manufacturers, which we've seen earlier today, the annual wholesale trade survey, and the service annual survey. And on the right side of the slide, I've included an America Account story for you to read at your leisure. This article was written by my colleague, Andy Haight. In this article, Andy talks about how manufacturing sector of the economy is the largest usage of online sales. Now, that came as a surprise to me. So when you get the chance, I highly suggest you to check it out. It's really a great article. Now, this is a screenshot from the latest eStats report, which was released on August the 5th of this year. And the graph on the left shows the total shipment, sales, and revenues for the manufacturing, service, retail, and merchant wholesale trade industries from 2018 to 2019. Here we see that the manufacturing sector reported approximately a 2.1% decrease, while the other 3 sectors of the economy reported increases. Now, the graph on the right shows the e-commerce as a percentage of total shipment sales and revenues. And as you can see, a large portion of the sales in manufacturing are indeed online sales. So while the report is a great source to find out e-commerce data from multiple sectors, if you happen to be interested in data from a specific sector, the data is available from each of the surveys that contribute to the report. And this is an example of a deeper dive into the e-commerce from the manufacturing sector. This table comes from the ASM. And here you can see that you can get data on the value of shipments, both as a total and as e-commerce. You can also see the year-to-year percentage change and on the percentage of total shipment and more. So let's move along to a program with data on international trade. The trade data can provide you with both import and export data. Trade data can help you find information on how the industry is performing when it comes to a particular business activity. You can use the trade data for a wide variety of uses, such as market analysis, industry, product, and even area-based business planning. The statistics from our trade program include data from the country of origin and destination for goods and services that are imported in and exported out of the U.S. We also have export data at the state and metropolitan area. Trade statistics are available annually and monthly on over 9,000 export and 18,000 import commodities. And the quarterly releases are for the metropolitan area export data only. So statistics also include more granular data at the district and port level, as well as a 10-digit commodity code level. So examples of data that you can get are quantities, values, shipping weights, and methods of transportation, and much, much more. Now, it is important to note that when you look at your trade statistics, that trade data are collected using the harmonized system. And other classification systems included in the trade data, such as the NAICS, have been converted using a concordance. Now, as you access the trade statistics, it is available on USA Trade Online. When you're on USA Trade Online, it does ask you to create an account. However, everything is absolutely free. On the right side of the slide, you'll find additional resources that may be helpful in your research. And we have many ways for you to learn and stay connected, such as the Global Reach blog, where you can find the latest happenings when it comes to trade data. Now, this is an example of import data at the port level for a commodity code 8483 for transmission shaft bearings. Now, I know the title and the details of this may be a little hard to see on your screen. This graph was generated by the USA Trade Online tool. If you'd like to refer to this in greater details, a copy of the slides will be posted in about a week. So the graph illustrates the custom values in US dollars. And for this commodity, the transmission shaft, it's showing that by different ports in the continental United States. And circled in red, we see that in June of 2021, New York City, New York handled a large amount of this commodity. And you can also get data at the 10-digit level harmonized system. So this slide shows a breakout in greater details of the code that we saw on the previous slide for the transmission shaft. And in this example, we see the different types of ball bearing imports for that month of June 2021. So far, we've been talking about several programs that can provide you with data related to manufacturing, spanning from employment to online sales to import and export statistics that can allow you to assess how much of the industry import and export. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't include the Economic Census, which is our most comprehensive data source when you're looking for business data. It's also a survey in which we benchmark our business data. The Economic Census takes place every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7. It includes nearly every 2 through 6-digit NAICS code. There are some exclusions, however, for example, with NAICS 11 for agriculture. Now, we have limited data on this sector, mostly revolving around the number of establishments and employment from select programs. And if you need additional data on this, the Department of Agriculture collects more extensive data on this sector. And we've included a link here for you for a full list of exclusions. So you can just access all the exclusions using this link here. Another great feature about this Economic Census is the level of geography. Now, while we do have county-level data from the county business patterns and its zip code level counterpart from the zip code business patterns, the variables from these programs are very limited. And finally, the Economic Census includes many data dimensions and over 200 plus variables. So here's an example of data from the Economic Census for the manufacturing sector. I selected the 5-digit level NAICS code for all establishments for the state of Maryland, and I've included a specific industry as an example. The data show that there are 43 number of firms in Maryland employing about 1,656 number of people in the semiconductor and other electronic component manufacturing. Now, I only wanted to briefly mention this program since it is our most comprehensive data source for business data. If you're interested in learning more about the Economic Census, I highly encourage you to check out the Census Academy for archived webinars. We have a series of webinars dedicated to the release of the 2017 Economic Census. And these webinars are presented by geography and also by economic sectors. So we've arrived at the part of our webinar where we shine a spotlight on a program to showcase interesting information and data that could be less visible in other programs. And today I've selected the Quarterly Survey of Plant Capacity Utilization, also commonly referred to as the QPC. The QPC is a survey that is sponsored by the Federal Reserve Board and the Defense Logistics Agency. Now, data are released on a quarterly basis for the manufacturing and publishing sectors of the economy. The types of data that you can get are full utilization rate, emergency utilization rate, and work week data. Data is available from the program's main page, and the link on this slide will also take you there, where you can access data dating back to 1994. Now, on the right, you'll notice the second quarter data has recently been released. And, of course, if you have questions about this program or the data, you can contact our analysts at this number. So in our example, we will be taking a look at NAICS 334 for computer and electronic products manufacturing, where microprocessor chip for our car example can be found at the 5- and 6-digit level NAICS code 334413. This graph shows the details of two of the codes from the previous slide, and we're looking at the average manufacturing plant hours per week. So when looking at the bare printed circuit board shown in blue, we see that in 2020, in the first quarter, the sector averages about 56.3 plant hours per week, and the data looks consistent across all 4 quarters of 2020. Now, for the semiconductor and related device shown in orange, we see that the first 2 quarters of last year, manufacturing was steady at about 46 to 47 manufacturing plant hours per week. And then the last half of the year, the hours were a little higher. And here's an illustration of how QPC data touches our everyday life. This graphic shows the percentage of the manufacturing plant's full production capacity. Now here we see the percentage of full production for coffee and tea manufacturing, shown in purple, decreased in the second quarter of last year. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the QPC data for the second quarter of this year was recently released. It's not shown here, but it is available on our site. So now I'm going to briefly go over how you can access our data using the Census Business Builder. The Census Business Builder has 2 editions, the Small Business Edition and the Regional Analyst Edition. Now, each edition has its own description, and you can read the description to see which one is best for your needs. So today I'm going to show you the Small Business Edition. When you click on the Small Business Edition, you're going to land on this page where you have 2 questions to answer before, at the click of a button, getting your data. So the first question is, what type of business do you want to research? And these buttons that you see here, they are our most popular searches. Of course, they're not inclusive of all the codes. So in our example here, you can go ahead and type in what you want to look for, and I put in electric automobiles for highway use manufacturing. And question number 2, if you pick Find My Location, it's going to pick up your IP address. But in this case, I decided to select Michigan. And, of course, you have two choices to, you can do both, select go to map or create report. And we're going to go to the map first. Okay, so once you're at the map, you have this blue ribbon here that you can further customize by changing your industry, changing your location, and even your variables. So for this example, I really didn't pick anything, so it has the total population as a default. And this map, you can actually click on it and define certain variables as well. And everything you see here, there are demographic variables such as the population for the state of Michigan, and over here, the median household incomes, and so on. And we're going to move along to what the report looks like. So if you pick create a report, you're going to get a report where you have a table of content. If you click on any of these, it'll take you to that section where you can find business summaries, consumer spending, and even my potential customers. These are primarily demographic variables. Okay, so I'm going to take you to the business summary section. So in this instance, we have the NAICS code 336111 for automobile manufacturing. And this is for the state of Michigan. So you can see that it'll give you the number of employer establishments and the average employment. It'll also give you a graph, and here you can see as it rises and falls. And this is only a snapshot of the tool. Okay, so now I'm going to hop out and show you data.census.gov. So data.census.gov. Now there are many ways you can do the search on here. One of the ways is if you know what you're looking for, you can go ahead and type it into this box here. Now my favorite way actually is to do the advanced search, simply because once you do the advanced search, it gives you the different types of filters that you can filter your search by. For instance, you may not have thought or realized that we had the different topics that we have, so you can select the different ones. And in this example, I'm going to go ahead and hit business and economy. And the more you select, the more in this case, once you see it populate down here in an oval, that means that it has been included in your search criteria. But let's say you wanted to look at business owners' characteristics. You can do that too, and it expands into the different types of business owner characteristics. That's going to come from our survey that we did not include in today's webinar, the annual business survey. So I won't do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do business and economy. And then let's say now we are going to look at a particular state. Now I only picked Michigan because I know it's going to have more likely the data that we're looking for. And then here I selected the geography, and now I'm selecting a code. And I'm going to go to manufacturing. And let's see, we're looking for our computer chip. Okay. The more you select the level, okay, the more detailed it becomes. So here you go. Let's just go ahead and pick this one. And then once you have all the criteria that you're interested in, you just hit search. And then it will populate a search result table of all the different programs that we have that has your search criteria. In this instance, this is the county business patterns, this is the Economic Census, and so on in the annual business survey. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Economic Census. Okay, so for the search criteria that we specified for the state of Michigan for this code, the computer and peripheral equipment, it's showing the number of firms, the number of establishments, and the sales annual payroll, and so on. Of course, you can also customize the table, and you have the same type of selections here with the geography, the codes, and if you already know, like let's say today we discussed the annual survey of manufacturers, or you already know that you want to look for something from the annual survey of manufacturers, then you can go ahead and anytime you click on that census.gov, it takes you back to the main page. You can go ahead and just type it in, and then only the results for that will come up. But there's also another way. You see this table ID number? If it's a table that you frequently have to go back and forth with, it's best to maybe jot this down, and then you can just type it in and get to that table immediately. Or if you take a look at this, the table ID actually corresponds to the survey. So for instance, this is the annual survey of manufacturers, and all of them have the AM in it. So going back to the, let me see if it'll take me back. This again, if you just type AM and asterisk, it also does the same thing. Okay, let's get back to our presentation slide. Okay, oops, I don't know why it took me back. Oh, bear with me 1 second. I'm not sure why it's showing that one. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've included just screenshots of what we just saw earlier on how to access. So in summary, today we've seen many data sources that are available to you when looking for manufacturing data, and as you've seen, you can find data related to current topics in the industry, such as automation, insourcing, outsourcing, and employment, to name a few. But one of the most important things to remember is that the Economic Census is our most comprehensive data source when you're looking for business data. Now, while it's not quite as timely as other programs, it can provide you with the most amount of details. Another thing to remember is the different ways that you can access the data that you've seen today with our primary way on data.census.gov. And finally, if you have questions, need help, of course, we're here to help. Please feel free to reach out using the contact information here. And at this time, I would like to thank you, everyone, for your interest in our data and for attending today's webinar. Now, as we gear up for our new series next year, if you have a topic idea or if you would like to see us feature something, please feel free to reach out to me using the contact information here on this slide, and I will submit your ideas to our committee. And before we begin our Q&A, please take note of the contact information listed on this slide for our data dissemination specialist. And this is for anyone who may be interested in a hands-on in-person training. We have specialists assigned by geography that will be able to provide this service. Now, as a reminder, we are focusing our Q&A on today's topic, and we'll be accepting questions related to today's topic. If you have questions on other topics, please feel free to send an email to us at census.askdata@census.gov. And now we'd like to open up the phone lines for the Q&A portion of this section. So let's check in with our operator, Jill. Operator, at this time, do we have questions in the queue?
We have no questions at this time in the queue, but if you would like to ask a question on the phone, please press *1 and record your name at this time to have your line open.
So while we're waiting for the operator to queue up some questions, I do want to mention that if you haven't already seen it, we have a COVID-19 Data Hub. This is a resource that pulls together, well, it's a page actually, that pulls together all of the census data on the pandemic, both demographic and economic, in one central location. So you'll be able to find how the COVID-19 has affected both businesses and households alike. Let's check back in with our operator again.
One moment, please. And we have a question from Roy Jones. Your line is open, sir.
Hi, Roy.
Hello.
Hi, Roy.
Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you today?
I'm alive and kicking. That's half the battle. I do have a question. I'm on via phone, and I wanted to be able to have access to the information that you were displaying via WebEx. How would I be able to do that?
Sure. So in approximately 5 to 10 business days, we're going to be posting the transcript and the slides on census.gov. Simply go to look for Census Academy, and it should be posted there under recorded webinars.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and have a great day.
You too.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question on the phone, please press *1 and record your name at this time.
So while we're waiting, I just want to show our site, census.gov. So if you're looking for the Census Academy on our main site, go to Explore Data, Census Academy. And then we have a section for webinars. That's where you're going to find the recording. And if you're looking for our surveys and programs, one of the best ways is to go to Surveys and Programs and then select all surveys and programs. And then this is going to be a list that is available in alphabetical order. And this list takes you to the program's main page. For instance, let's look at the annual business survey. So here is the program main page where you can learn about the program, get the data, and anything new and technical documentation. So let me check back in with the operator. Operator, any questions?
No, ma'am, we have no questions at this time.
Okay. Are there chat questions? I don't have access to see the chat because I have my screen up. At this moment, I would like to express our thanks to everyone again for attending today's webinar. With no additional questions, this concludes today's presentation. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
This does conclude today's conference call. We thank you all for participating. You may now disconnect and have a great rest of your day.